Thank you, Mr. the Honourable Ernest Wong. Thank you, Deputy President. See no evil. My Adjournment speech is based on the writings of Dr. Siobhan O'Sullivan in regards to the equitable treatment of animals in governance and policy. Since the time of the Industrial Revolution, animals have been slowly excluded from the lives of most humans. Until relatively recently, both rural and city dwellers had direct experience of the economic exploitation of animals, from horses used for transport in agriculture, cattle and sheep driven to and slaughtered at open markets, to eggs collected from backyard chicken coops. Increased urbanisation and agricultural industrialisation ended the eyewitness observation of the lives and deaths of animals used by humans. This dislocation has resulted in the invisibility of the lived experiences of farmed animals and those animals used in medical research. Slaughterhouses have all their blood, gore and stench been exiled from our cities. Intensively farmed pigs and chickens spend their few miserable weeks of life contained in massive windowless sheds far from casual observation of passers-by. While farmed animals may live their lives almost entirely unseen, that does not mean that they are not subject to the law. We have animal welfare legislation such as the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act and a multitude of codes of practice, standards and guidelines which detail the ways in which animals may be lawfully treated by industry. A thin veneer of animal welfare sits alongside a prohibition upon unnecessary suffering. However, if the average citizen could see the suffering caused by lawful practices such as mulesing, castration, dehorning, tail docking and eye teeth removal, all without pain relief in the main, I am sure that they would demand higher levels of standard and care. Our citizens rely upon their members of parliament and regulatory bodies to safeguard that what happens in these hidden places meets community standards concerning animal well-being. Time and again it has been shown that the public's expectations are not being met. Exposés by animal rights and welfare groups have shown cruelty to animals, to pigs, ducks, turkeys and chickens, to name a few instances where animal activists have recorded images that horrify the nation. Community outrage occurs each and every time these images of suffering are broadcast, and it clearly shows that the public do care about the lives of animals. It is disturbing, however, that the government and industry response is not to improve animal well-being and standards and better resource enforcement agencies, but rather to attack and criminalise the messenger in the main. This attack of transparency disenfranchises citizens and helps generate inconsistencies in animal welfare laws. It determines the role of citizens as policy participants and it undermines the role of citizens as policy participants and forces animal activists to engage in illegal behaviour in an attempt to put animal welfare on the political agenda. The introduction of ag-gag laws via the Biosecurity Act and the Enclosed Lands Amendment Interference Bill increased penalties for animal activists who, in the public interest, capture footage of animal suffering on private lands. Ministers talk of activists as vigilantes and terrorists, but our regulatory system makes independent oversight of intensive farming facilities virtually impossible. As Dr. Sullivan states, quote, "The only people who see agriculture animals are those who financially benefit from bringing them into the world and then killing them. Such people are not reliable witnesses. They cannot be trusted as the only source or even the primary source of information about whether an animal's life is good or not." How can we ensure that the laws regulating the lives of animals reflect community values when the community has little to no capacity to see or engage with those animals? How can the community inform animal welfare laws when we know very few animals? If the community is unable to draw its own conclusions about the suitability of animal protection laws made in its name, what type of challenge does this pose to liberal democratic values? Thank you.